All right, welcome to reading today. In our story, the Galveston Hurricane, can anybody tell me how this story was different from other stories we've read? Because it was kind of in like two parts. Emma, what was one of the parts like?
There was a part where there was the note.
Okay,
The letter.
so one of the parts was a letter, an actual letter that someone who went through the hurricane wrote to someone, right? So they put his letter in there. What's the other part, Cadence?
Personal narrative, what happened to him.
Okay, so that was the personal narrative. Before we started reading the narrative, I need everyone's eyes and ears up here. Okay? Sit in a position where you're listening. Zoe? What was the other part of the story? Before we got to the letter and then at the very end, what was that part doing? Josiah?
Being like a nonfiction book.
Yeah, it was kind of like narrative fiction, or nonfiction. So it was a true story, but they're telling us what happened. Okay, now, the reason that's so important, and I would say, kids at home, I hope you're listening better than my students in class. Actually, we're going to pause a minute so they can get it under control. All right, we're back. Okay, so that story, the reason there's two chunks, some of you are still not paying attention. Eyes up here. Thank you. There is a first-person point of view and a third-person point of view. They're different. And the story we just read has both. All right, so first person, any story that's first person, I hope you're listening. I really don't know what's going on in your desk. Stop looking in your desk, Caden. Up here. Up here. First person is usually someone's diary or a journal or a letter they wrote, and they say, I did this, I did that. It's a first-hand account. So you're going to see words like I, we, my, me, I'm, I'll, our, we're, I've. They're all words that talk about someone's perspective from themselves. So if I told you about my trip last summer hiking, and I said, I saw bison stampeding over a ridge, and it scared me because I thought they were going to run into me. Am I using a first-person perspective?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm describing what happened to me, right? Okay, now let's shift to third person. And there is one called second person, but you don't need to worry about that in fourth grade, so we skip it. Third person. Here I'm going to change my story. Abby and her husband were walking through Yellowstone Park when they saw a bison herd come over the ridge, and it scared them. How is that different the way I told the story that time? Chloe?
What's a bison?
A bison is a buffalo. Same thing. Emma, how's it different?
Because someone was narrating.
Yeah, it was like someone floating in the sky above me was telling what happened, right? Did I use words like her, him, she, he, they, them?
Yep.
Okay. So that type of a story, when it's like someone floating above is telling what people did, that's a third person perspective. If it comes from the person who actually did it, it's first person. So I'm going to read a couple examples out of some books in my library. So this book is called Swindle. It is an amazing book if anyone needs a good read.
Me.
All right, I'm going to read the first little bit, and your job is to listen carefully. Quiet with your bells. And I want everyone to be able to tell me if you think this is a first-person point of view or a third-person point of view. So listen to our key words, okay? Here we go. When a plan came from Griffin Bing, even the tiniest detail had to be perfect. He'd agonized over every fine point and possibility, all except one. What if nobody showed up? Griffin and Ben sat cross-legged on their sleeping bags in what had once been an elegant living room. They were surrounded by shredded drapery, remnants of ancient furnishings, and mounds of dust. All around them, the cavernous old house creaked and groaned with hollow, eerie noises. All right, a lot of you have your hands up. What do you guys think? Tell me when I call you. First or third person? Angie?
Third.
Third. She is right. Someone else tell me, how did she know that? Josiah?
It was using like her, him, she.
Yeah, it sounded like a narrator was telling me what people were doing, right? Nice job. Let's try another one. All right. The one and only Ivan. I know a lot of you are familiar with this one.
Well, I have not forgot my house. It's sad.
Okay. Now this starts a little bit different, so let me just read this page.
I saw the movie.
Ready? Hello. I am Ivan. I am a gorilla. It's not as easy as it looks. And that should be enough to know, right? Cadence, what do you think?
First person.
First person. She's right. How did she know that, Hudson?
Because I heard I in it.
Yeah, the gorilla's saying, I am Ivan. I am a gorilla. It's from first person point of view. He's telling his own story.
I saw the movie.
All right. Let's look at this one. Boxcar Children. This is the first book. It's my favorite. If you've never read these books, these are also awesome. So let's read from our first page. Everyone listen. One warm night, 4 children stood in front of a bakery. No one knew them. No one knew where they'd come from. The baker's wife saw them first as they stood looking in at the window of her store. The little boy was looking at the cakes. The big boy was looking at the loaves of bread. And the 2 little girls were looking at the cookies. Zoe, what do you think? Third person. She's right. How did she know that? Alex? Do you want to bounce it on?
Yeah.
Pick.
No. It didn't say I and me and we. It said like the boys.
Right.
And
So it was like someone else was telling their story. Good. All right, we have one more example. You guys are getting it. All right. This book is called Dear America, The Diary of Cloté, a Slave Girl. These books are amazing. If I don't think
She was
anyone
a
in
slave?
no one has read these books this year. I just see Noah's got his hand up, so it might be possible that you already know, because this is a diary. Everyone listen. The spring blooms are coming, and the sky is sure blue. March never knows if it wants to be a spring month or a winter month. That's fine with me, though. As long as it's hot, I have to fan young Master Williams and Ms. Lily, my mistress, during their study time. Josiah? First person. How'd you know that?
Because it's a diary.
It's a diary.
And it says diary or journal.
Okay, why would a diary and journal always be first person? You may, Chloe, but answer first. Yeah. If I write in a journal and tell about my day or a diary, I am writing from my perspective. This would be weird, but if I kept a diary for my brother, right, I would tell about his day. That would not be my first person, right? I would be telling about him, so it would be third person. Any questions on the difference between these two?
No.
All right, so those of you at home, when you reread the Galveston hurricane story, think about which parts of the story are written in first person, and think about which parts are written in third person. All right. Thank you for joining for our short little lesson. See you later.